What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 32 of Breaking Bats, presented to you by Not For Long Media. I'm your host, Brian O'Grady, and with me, as always, my co-host, Justin Ayers, JA. How you doing, dude? A lot going on. Good college football weekend, but more importantly, baseball season's wrapping up. We got playoffs coming up soon. A lot of stuff happening. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Yeah, I started seeing those articles pop up where it's like the last couple weeks of the year. It's like the season series that matter the most. And, we're getting ready. The playoff bracket was announced, or like the initial one as of today. So a lot of fun stuff happening in Major League Baseball. It'll be fun to see. We're going to talk about a couple teams that have already clinched a playoff spot. And then we're going to try to see who's going to wrap up these other wild cards. It's not a lot of big races for the wild cards, which we'll talk about. It's not as close. Maybe the NL is a little closer than anywhere else, but yeah, it's a fun time for baseball right now. But I still have my college football Saturdays and my NFL Sundays. So, those 2 days aside, we're doing pretty good otherwise.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely baseball season, and I love it. Uh, College football Saturdays, can't beat it. NFL, my Eagles are looking pretty good, so I'm happy right now. But baseball season, the playoffs are great, man. It's baseball's so long that I feel like it starts to you get a little bit of that lull once football season hits and everybody's like really
Yeah.
excited for football again. But then, the races pick up. Judge is going for 60 homers, which we'll talk about, and like things like that are happening. And then the playoffs happen, and the playoffs are every year are fucking awesome in baseball, and everyone gets fired up again, and it's great. So yeah, the football takes away from it real quick, but then you can't beat the end of the season and the playoff push, and it's a lot of fun in the World Series, obviously. So, but before we get to all that stuff, who's this episode brought to us by?
This week's episode is brought to you by our friends at Som Sleep. Are you having enough trouble getting enough sleep at night? Because Som Sleep has you covered. The scientifically advanced Som snack includes ingredients that are naturally found in your body like GABA, magnesium, and melatonin. Sleep is the best form of recovery, and it has helped people everywhere take their games to the next level. It's simple. All you have to do is drink one serving just 30 minutes before bed, and your body will naturally calm itself down. Other sleep supplements leave you feeling groggy and tired in the morning, but not Som Sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to conquer your day. Go to getsom.com, click shop, and enter the code BATS, BATS, at checkout for 10% off your entire order of Som Sleep. So we teased it in our little intro there, but the two teams that have clinched their divisions and have punched their ticket to the postseason are the Astros and the Dodgers. With the Astros win last night, they earned a bye into the AL Division Series. They'll have home field advantage. I mean, this division was never really in doubt. If you look at the AL West this entire year, they had a 10-game lead in June, and then they never really had any serious competition after that. They only need 3 more wins to get to 100. They're at 97 right now, and their club record for wins is at 107. So we're on milestone watch there for the Astros. But I didn't realize this. They have won more games than any other AL club since 2017. They're 531 and 324. It's insane the run that the Astros have been on. Only one World Series though, so you can kind of look at it from that perspective. But I want to talk about their manager Dusty Baker a little bit. This guy, like, I don't think he gets enough credit. He came in during the height of the cheating scandal. They had just fired AJ Hinch, and it's like, all right, well, this team's got a cloud hanging over it. And then ever since then, he's just won. He's been to a World Series, been to ALCS. Like, do you think that Dusty deserves more credit when talking about the greatest managers of all time?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of people hold Dusty in pretty high regard. He's obviously managed a lot of good teams over his career. He's managed a lot of great players over his career, and you know, I think and he would probably say the same thing. It starts with that. Obviously, he's been blessed with some of the players and teams that he's gotten to manage, but the the whole scandal and how bad that was, and when he took over, they still had the core of those guys there, which obviously helps. But whatever message he was given to them, obviously, rang true, and that's huge because you need a leader like that. He's I don't know Dusty, but he seems very calm. Been doing this obviously a very long time. So it just that's the vibe I get from him is that he keeps everybody even keel and that guy's really like him as a manager. My guess would be that he communicates very well. And he's a great manager. So, all time, who knows, but he wins a lot. That's all I know. And yeah, the no World Series is, I guess, a knock, but at the same time, man, winning a World Series is really, really, really hard for a billion reasons. But they could do it this year. I didn't think they were going to be as good. I thought the Mariners, would be, and the Mariners have come on, but I thought throughout the season between the Mariners and thought the Angels would be a little bit better, but didn't turn out that way. And every time you look at the box score, the fucking Astros score 9 runs and give up one, and they win every day. At the Yankees, like they're talk about it now. They're my pick for the AL.
Houston?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
They just, I mean, it's not a hot take there, but they just do. They just win. That's all they do. And now they're the 1 seed. And they're going to be at home. And those guys have been there, done that. They know how to win. And yeah, they lost Correa, but Jeremy Pena is a good player, man. I played against him in AAA last year. I was like, who the hell is this guy? He looked little preview of coming later. He looks like a running back. That dude's an athlete, and he's played well. And the rest of those guys, Bregman, Altuve, Tucker, all of them, Alvarez, they got a really good team, man. They're scary. And even when the Yankees were dominating, and Houston went in there and no hit them, and I think swept them that series. Like, I think that's when a lot of people were like, "Oh shit, Houston is still it," and the Yankees were probably thinking we need home field for that, and they don't got it. So I got Houston. But anyway, sorry, Dusty. Yeah, awesome.
He just seems like the ultimate players manager. Like, I feel like that's we've talked about managers and how different types, guys get the best out of their players in different ways. But yeah, everything that I remember when he was in DC, the guys absolutely loved him. It was a shame that they didn't have like success out of the NLDS. They couldn't get out of the NLDS with Dusty there. Like, but as a regular season manager, you look at it like his career, like record year by year, it's like 95, 97 wins. So yeah, he's doing something right. But yeah, obviously to get to the World Series with Houston last year was a great accomplishment for him. But yeah, Houston's no joke. So the playoff picture, if the season ended today, so Houston obviously has that 1 seed. They play the winner of the 4 seed, which is Toronto, or playing the 5 seed, which is Tampa. So they'd be playing either Toronto or Tampa in the second round. That's if the playoffs started today, which I think it might just end up being that. Yeah, it's fun. The Orioles are completely out of it. They're 5 back. What a year though. 76 and 70. If you would have told me over 500 in late September, I wouldn't have believed you. So we're doing
They're
better.
in a great spot. Listen, man, I said this to you before, and they hung in longer than I thought they would. So I'll give them that too. But that's a phenomenal year for the Orioles, and they got better years ahead. So good for them. If they made the playoffs this year, that would have been pure insanity. So, okay, shout out to the Orioles. Looking forward to watching that team in the future.
They got the dudes. Speaking of dudes, Aaron Judge Triple Crown watch. We are officially on Aaron Judge Triple Crown watch. He hit 2 home runs on Sunday against the Brewers. He has 59. So all those conversations we had about will he get to 61? It's now a matter of when. He's on the precipice of becoming only the 6th man to hit 60 or more home runs in a season, and he's going to do it without getting popped for PEDs. So that'll be a fun one to watch. But I think all of this, like something that's been lost in this chase for 61 is just the Triple Crown watch, because people don't realize, I think, how great of an all-around like season he is having offensively. So he has 59 home runs, 127 RBIs, and he's batting .316. I think he's tied for second in the AL with Xander Bogaerts, and then Luis Arias is hitting .317. so he's only a tick off of the AL batting or the MLB batting average lead. And the RBI department, he is so Alonso is 118 and Judge has 127. So he's comfortably sitting pretty in terms of RBIs. But good God, at age 30 to have this kind of year. I mean, I was reading an article on MLB.com just about putting his offensive season into perspective in terms of the greatest ones of all time. It's insane. His WAR right now is 9, according to Baseball Reference, is 9.6. So a 10-win season for Aaron Judge. It's incredible. We were talking a little bit about his new contract that he'll be getting this offseason, probably not from the Yankees. What do you think? What do you think the number would be? Average annual value? What kind of deal would you sign Aaron Judge to if you were a team?
First of all, those numbers are such a joke. 60 homers, whatever he finishes with, and well over 300, 316 right now. I mean, that is, especially in today's age, you don't really see that. Those, Luis Arias is a good contact hitter, but I don't think he's got 10 homers this year. Probably, I say that because I remember, I think he hit 1 or 2 in a game, and it was a big deal.
8.
So he's got 8. So, Bogarts hit some homers, but Judge, that kind of power, he was slugging over 700 the last time, and that's just crazy. So yeah, he's going to get a nice contract. Where does it start? We were kind of debating this before we started recording, and I think it starts at 35, I'm going to say, because the only knock on him is that he's kind of late. It's so he's 30, so he'll be going into his age 31 season. So I don't know what the length will be, but we have the highest annual value is Trout at 36. Did you say?
Yeah, for a position player, and then Scherzer as a pitcher is 43.
So I would say it's starting at 35, right in that area. But then after that, it's going to depend on the team and the number of years. So I could see him getting more and signing a shorter deal if the New York Mets throw that money at him. If, Cohen is like, hey, man, I'll give you 3 years and, $120 million. And he's got, $40 million a year right there. So I don't see him getting that 8-9 year contract, but could happen. Never know. I don't know. I think teams are wary of that stuff now, but he couldn't do any better. He couldn't this season. I mean, so the Yankees, I think they asked, who did they asked somebody, I think they asked Glass now on one of whatever podcast that is. And he was like, just give him a blank check, basically. And in my opinion, dude, I said this before, the Yankees can't that's basically what the Yankees have to do. They can't let him walk, especially to Queens. So yeah, you're telling me Cohen offers him $140 million for 3 years. The Yankees are just going to be like, well, thanks, Aaron. Good Triple Crown. We'll see you later. That's going to be an absolute shitstorm.
Bet it on yourself. It always works. He rejected that 7-year, $213.5 million contract, which would have gave him a little over 30 per year. Would have been average annual value for that, which wouldn't even been in the top. I looked up the average annual value for position players, and it's hilarious. It's like Mike Trout, Carlos Correa, Rendon, Lindor. These are the guys that are getting paid the big bucks. And then for pitchers, unfortunately, Steven Strasburg is still up there. So hopefully he can figure out that thoracic outlet syndrome. But I digress. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see what he signs with, who he signs with. But it's the Triple Crown is something I wouldn't have expected from Judge, because this year he has 92 walks. He has an on base of 419. It's he's having a fantastic all around. If this was the late 90s, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But it's like you said, it's in 2022 with all the pitching and Bill Ripken talking about why the league average is down. He's He's just one of the outliers in baseball. It's fantastic. I would give him. I mean, he's probably going to want more than Scherzer per average annual value. So if he wants that, maybe he could go 50 for 5, 50 for 6, something like that.
I say when you first said this, I said 50, and then I was like,
That makes sense.
I don't know. That's so much fuck in my head. Like I said 50, and I'm like, wait a second, that is so much fucking money. That's so much money. But dude, I mean, you're talking about all those guys being in the 30 range. Like he's got to get more. He's got to get more than that. It depends what he wants, I guess. Honestly, if he wanted that average annual value in a little short, 4 or 5 years, I'm sure he can get that from somebody. If he wants to try to push it 7, 8 years, 9 years, whatever he wants, then it's at some point on the back end or something, I would guess the teams would want to try to put it down. But he's got it. He's worth every penny. How can you say he's not? He's doing it in New York. I said this before on here. That team, if you take him away from that team, obviously WAR says they would lose 10 more games than they would with him. But you take him away for I don't know where they are. Honestly, that he is the impact he has is insane. And sorry, Ohtani and all the Ohtani lovers, but he has to be MVP this year.
Most games played on the Yankees right now, Aaron Judge 142. The next closest is Glaber at 130. So durability, not a concern. Yeah, dude, if you take him off the
yeah. Well, you had a good point about this too, is that he's a big dude and getting older. Well, bigger dudes usually have an issue with that. And he's in great shape. But he's a big human.
It's a lot of stress on the body there when you're 285 pounds. Well,
now him and I believe Boris is his agent, right? I think. Him and let's check.
Oh wait, no, it's PSI Sports Management.
Oh yeah, no, I knew that anyway. What am I talking about? Sorry, PSI. PSI. They're gonna point to he's gonna play what 155 games this year or whatever he finishes at. Like, oh, you're worried about his durability? This dude just went out there and played every day, almost every single game for the Yankees and did that. So I honestly am very excited to see how it plays out.
I can't wait. It's gonna be the best. I can't wait for this offseason. So we have a couple more things for you guys this week. We have our Fudge-ing Awesome Moment of the week, and it's Pirates themed.
You love your Pirates. I mean, can't argue about that. You're a DC Baltimore guy, but I think you're a Yinzer at heart there. And our Fudge-ing Awesome Moment of the week is brought to you by our sponsor, the original Fudge Kitchen. You can find them online at fudgekitchens.com. They're shipping sweet treats and fudge all over the country. Unfortunately, kind of fortunately because I'm a fall guy, but unfortunately, summer's coming to an end. So our Jersey Shore and Philly listeners, if you're still down the shore, you can go see them in North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, Ocean City, and Cape May. That's the original Fudge Kitchen. And you can find them online at fudgekitchens.com. They ship all over the country. Can't wait to get some when I get back to America.
So this week's Fudge-ing Awesome Moment of the week, it's a great story. It's like I said, it's a Pittsburgh Pirates themed. It's a season-long story as opposed to a singular event. So I read MLB.com had this great piece about Pirates catcher Jason DeLay. He was a 4th-round pick out of Vandy, so shout out the Vandy boys. He didn't put up big numbers in the minor leagues. He was at AAA this past summer. This year, he was told, it's like, hey, you're not going to play anymore. We're going to move you down the depth chart. We're going to give your reps to other people. And he would be moved as the bullpen catcher, so not even getting in any games. So that was at AAA Indianapolis. And so he's like, I don't want to just ride the bench. This isn't how I saw my baseball career panning out. He thought about it, and he saw on the calendar they had a road trip to Gwinnett to play the Braves AAA team, and his family's from that area. So he thought, I'll go with the team to Gwinnett. I'll pack my apartment up, and then that'll be my last road trip series, whatever you want to call it, in professional baseball. So then he got a break though. The Pirates bullpen catcher with the big club got COVID. So they put Delay on the taxi squad with the big club. And then he was there. He was like in like these install meetings with pitchers. And then like a bullpen pitcher, I think, on the Pirates also got COVID. So they needed to fill the roster spot. And since Jason was already in the building and already was working with the staff, they put him on the actual roster. And it's been great. Since then, he's played in 47 games. He has a home run. One of the best defensive catchers in all of baseball. He has 4 defensive runs saved, and he's in the 78th percentile of pitch framing. So it's just been a great under the radar like story for baseball this season. Jason Delay, going from the brink of retiring and hanging him up to everyday catcher, and he's probably going to be back on the team next year while they wait for their top prospect, Henry Davis, in the minor leagues to get ready. So how cool is that?
That's absolutely wild. Good for him. What a roller coaster that must have been. But now doing it and playing well. So good for him. Catching defensively like that, that'll help you stick around. So good for him, man. That's a never heard one like that. So good story right there.
There's always room in this league for defensive-minded catchers.
You got that right. Well, who really wants to get back there and just get beat up and get these balls absolutely thrown at you as hard as they can and take foul tips and things
Yep.
like it's not fun. It's not a fun life back there. You're the Washington Nationals catcher knows about that right now, unfortunately.
K-Bear Ruiz.
Yeah, poor Ruiz, man. Tough.
Took
It's
one
a
in the
tough
groin.
life back there.
Yeah.
That's why they get the big bucks and get the big leagues a little bit faster typically because they're crazy.
It's insane. So shout out Jason Delay. So all right, last but not least, this week we have our top 5 to clean up last week's top 5. I won handily. It was 78-22. So that was the tug of war like squad that we assembled. So be sure to vote each week, every Friday, on Breaking Bats Pod on Instagram. In honor of football, which we've talked about a little bit today, we're going to be doing a top 5, but it's instead of a top 5, we're going to be doing a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end made with just baseball players. So we're going to take current active MLB players and we're going to see which guys would fit best if we put them in at these positions on the football field. I will start us off at quarterback. It's going to be JT Realmuto. JT 6'1", 212. When he in high school, was first team All-State quarterback, 20 touchdowns. He averaged 100 rushing yards per game in high school. And I looked at, because obviously catchers have to throw the ball, in the StatCast tracking of pop time, which is from when the ball hits the catcher's mitt to when it goes to second base, he leads all of baseball with 1.82 seconds. So JT would absolutely be able to run around back there and sling it. My running back is Tommy Pham. He's 6'1", 223. I think he would just bring a toughness and a grittiness to the position. He would fight for every single yard, every single possession. And I think he could probably catch some passes out of the backfield with that, ball tracking ability he has out there in the outfield. So, and above average speed to boot. So my wide receiver, Byron Buxton, he's 6'2", 190. That's a prototypical wide receiver build. In high school, he played wide receiver. He's in the 92nd percentile for speed this year. And obviously being in center field, he knows how to run and he knows how to catch balls. So that would be my wide receiver. And last but not least, my tight end is Giancarlo Stanton. He's 6'6", 245. And I didn't know this, but coming out of high school as a 17-year-old, he was recruited by Pete Carroll at USC to play tight end. They really wanted him. They saw this kid, Mike Stanton, with this giant build. They're like, all right, we could use him on the gridiron. And thankfully he decided to play baseball. So that's my offensive squad. Who's yours?
I like all your picks. They're very good. You stole by there's some good picks. I would probably go with some of those too. But mine starting a quarterback, I got Tyler Glasnow from the Rays. He is a very, very athletic guy, obviously great arm. I don't think Glass has ever touched a football field growing up, but if we molded him, I think he could really play the position well. And he's a smart dude, so he'll figure out all the coverages and stuff. My running back is going to be Mike Trout. I mean, built, solid, fast. I feel like when I look at him, he was born to be a running back, not a center fielder, but loves the Eagles too. So we got that connection going on. Wide receiver, Kevin Kiermaier, obviously Gold Glove center fielder. I've seen it firsthand. KK flying around out there. I could see him being a nice little Cooper Kupp, Julian Edelman, a little slot. I mean, he could definitely do it. And then the tight end, gotta go. I mean, we talked about this. It's got to be Judge. He's just a massive human, good athlete. I'm sure he was an actual football player in high school too. So I don't know about the rest of the guys. Let's put that caveat in there. This is just. I know you did your research with Real Muto, and my buddy went to high school with him, knows him, so I actually knew he was a good football player. But this is just purely based off my instincts of watching them on the baseball field. I know there are a lot of really good football players in the MLB, or guys who played football who are in the MLB. So I'm sure they're going to yell at us, which is great. But that's my list right there. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I like. The only thing with Trout though is, I worry about the durability concern with Trout at running back. I don't know if you're getting a full 17 game season from Trout at running back. He might get beat up there in the backfield.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was great.
We might have to share the carries. I might have to get a RB2 in there to get the share the carries. Give them
split the workload.
Give them some breaks there. Yeah.
Tony Pollard in Dallas. Yeah.
Something like that. A little change of pace guy in there.
Pace back.
Yeah, but anyway, and then our interview for this week, Reds outfielder TJ Friedl. He could be a little change of pace back, a little undersized, but he moves pretty quick. My buddy played with him in the minor leagues with the Reds. Obviously, since then he's been in the big leagues, and he's playing pretty well right now, which is awesome. Great dude. Really interesting story though. He was undrafted. Basically because teams didn't realize he was draft eligible, and that was the only reason. So he ended up being the highest paid undrafted player in history, and it all worked out for him now. But really cool story. I know you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, it was great. The story of being draft eligible is, I just can't believe that back then nobody thought like ahead of time, like, hey, you know what, maybe we should look into this a little bit more. Up until the very end there. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, just an awesome guy. Just a little heads up for our audio listeners out there. Is the audio it's a little weird. We tried our best to clean it up, so wanted to get out ahead of that.
With all that being said, we'll send it to our interview with TJ Friedl. And joining us today on Breaking Bats is Reds outfielder TJ Friedl, my former teammate in the minor leagues with the Reds. Still my buddy to this day. TJ, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, been following you. You've been playing pretty well lately. I'm always happy to see that. But, we go way back. God, I guess. When did we meet? Was it Instructs? Maybe Instructs one year?
2016. 2016 probably was the first time we met.
Yeah, and then ended up together my little stint in high A, and then for those a week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, when I
Oh yeah, we lived together.
Oh my, yeah, we did. I forgot about that.
for that short stint in Daytona in 2017.
Yeah.
And then played in Pensacola in 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. Me, you,
Brian Hunter, Zach Weiss. Yeah, bro.
Weiss. Oh my God, Weiss just showed back up in the big leagues too. I was fired up to see that. I saw that. Here in Japan, dude, they Otani, every one of the Angels games are on because of Otani. In the clubhouse every day, the Otani is playing. So I always see fucking Herget. Always see Herget's stupid face on my TV in Japan all the time, and I always text him and be like, "You're still ugly," and send him pictures. And he's been throwing well too. But then all of a sudden I see Weiss up there. I'm like, "Oh my God, I got Weiss and Herget on my TV in Japan right now." But,
did Weiss come back up there recently? Was that a recent transaction?
Yeah, very recent. But Weiss has always been pretty nasty. He just hasn't got as much opportunity. I faced him. Did I face him? I don't know. He was in Tacoma last year. I think he ended up. Did he get up at all? I forget. But he was throwing well in Tacoma last year too. But
he's always been good. He's always been a good pitcher.
But yeah, before that, and the little twist to your story here, the real interesting part is you went undrafted. I don't want to blow up your spot. You went undrafted and got the highest signing bonus for an undrafted guy ever because teams didn't know you were draft eligible, basically.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
We're gonna yeah, I don't want to spoil it just yet, but that is the one part to your story that is very different, and we're gonna get in that later. But we'll let JA take it back to high school before we get to that part. Go ahead, JA.
Yeah, no doubt. So TJ, to have the kind of success that you did in high school and then to have to walk on in Nevada, what was your decision making process like at that time?
So that was, that was pretty interesting because, I was played sophomore year, varsity, junior, and then senior year. And every summer I'd go play travel ball and do all the circuits everyone else would do. And it was kind of, it wasn't tough, but it was just, I found it hard to kind of get those opportunities and that exposure that I'd see the guys next to me getting, stuff like that. So my senior fall, I actually went to the University of Nevada for like a fall scouting camp, basically, where they like invite you up and then it's like a 3-day camp. I remember I ran a 60. They had like the 60-yard dash set up. I think I ran a 6.34, like on the watch, and and so like that was kind of like the first thing of the camp too, right? Like that's where you start out with like that before you even play game, before you even make a throw in the outfield, like you run the 60, and so that was kind of like my first exposure. And then at the end of the camp, the former coach Buddy Goldschmidt and Gary Powers, talking to me and my parents and said, "Hey, here's the deal. We don't have any scholarships available for next year, but we'd love to have you up here on campus as like a walk-on." So I went back home and evaluated kind of everything with my parents. Then went into my senior year, played my senior season, and there were a couple JUCOs that were in the area and were kind of making me aware of the JUCO route, and kind of that option. So I was talking to my dad, and I was just kind of like, I want to bet on myself. If I'm gonna go, I want to bet on myself. And then if I don't make it for some reason, I can go to the JUCO that was talking to me, and but I wanted to at least give myself that opportunity. Well, going into my freshman year now at University of Nevada, Coach Powers had retired. And then the assistant coach Buddy Goldschmidt, he went to New Mexico, so both of them were gone. So they bring Jay Johnson from the University of San Diego, USD, and never heard of him in my life. He never heard of me. And basically what happened was he had a whole nother tryout freshman year, like the first or second week of school. He had like a whole nother tryout. And it was kind of like an open invitation to anyone on campus. We had about 80 something guys, freshmen, come out, like, and just try out. And it was crazy. It was like guys who were already on the team mixed with freshmen who had just got to the school. All 85 guys on this field just working out for like 4 days. And so we went through freshman fall with probably 50 something guys playing and like competing for spots. And so here I am just trying to impress this coach that I'd never met. He doesn't know me. We just met the first day of school, and I'm trying to make the team here. And I just, kept betting on myself. And we had a fall ball game against St. Mary's. Now I'll remember this day forever. And it was me and my roommate, Justin Bridgman, at the time. He was also a walk-on from Reno. And after the game, he like told us both, like in front of the whole team in the locker room, that like we had made the team and that we weren't getting cut. And so, at that moment, I like went outside and like called my parents, and I was like, I did it. Like I made the team. I bet on myself, and like, I at least made the team for now. I'm on the team, so I'm gonna stay.
To kind of jump back into what you were saying, like also at that time, weren't people telling you that you were too small for baseball? Like you're too small to, was that a factor in all that during that time?
Yeah, I mean, that was always kind of like a factor throughout my whole life in high school and every sport. Like I stopped playing football. I played basketball all the way up until my senior year, but like even in basketball in California playing basketball, just like, hey man, let's be realistic here. You're kind of short. Like, which no doubt, but like, I'll find a way to make it work. And that's what I've always done. You know, I find a way to take my size and what I'm good at, which is I'm fast, you know, and I use that to my advantage. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've been told my whole life, but you know, there's always ways to make it work in your favor and kind of know your strengths and play to your strengths.
So going from your freshman year at Nevada to your junior year, like what changes did you make to your swing that had this like drastic turnaround?
So after my sophomore year, I went and played summer ball in Texas collegiate league, and just tried 5 or 6 different swings because I was like, you know what, like what I'm doing right now is not working. Let's be honest, not working. So let's just try some different things. Watch a lot of YouTube videos like late at night on like what I can try the next day on the field in BP, and just played around with a bunch of things in my swing and kind of like my setup, my stance, my load, kind of where I want to aim to kind of trigger my load, and found a swing that worked for me. And so what I found was the swing where I'm at now, open stance, leg kick, but I was a lot more crouched in college. Like I was really low to the ground in college, and I would kind of still have that big leg kick. But then I think the biggest part for me, and it always has been, is confidence. Always. And so when I came back my that redshirt sophomore, my junior year of school, my redshirt sophomore year of baseball, TJ Bruce had just came in from UCLA, played fall ball. You know, once again, he didn't know me. The only thing he knew about me was what he got from Jay Johnson after Jay Johnson left to go to U of A, and kind of just, you know, debriefed everyone on the team and who's coming back, who's returning. And so he didn't know me at all. So I come back my junior year. I've had a good summer in Texas, and, you know, come back in fall ball, having a good year in fall ball, still a walk on at that point. And he calls me in his office right before Christmas break. Well, no, right before Thanksgiving break, calls me in his office, and he goes, "Hey, yeah, I really like what you did this fall, your hard work, and you're going to be a big part of this team. You know, you're going to be an everyday center fielder for us." And at that moment, I was like, wow, like I haven't had that opportunity before. I've kind of been fighting for a job ever since I stepped on campus. And then he was like, we don't have a lot of money set aside, but I want to put you on a 25% scholarship. And that to me, you know, 25% scholarship to me was just like, what? Like that's insane. Oh my gosh. Like, so me and my 4 roommates, we were in a house at that time, went back and told them the news, and they wrote me up a piece of homework paper, like on the backside, and it said NLI, whatever that intent, like national letter of intent that you sign when you sign your scholarship deal. Like they wrote up a handwritten one for me and like took pictures of me with the Nevada hat, like I was back a senior in high school for my signing day.
That's funny.
Oh, it was hilarious. I still have the pictures. It was hilarious. But just that confidence that he instilled in me to just let me be myself and, hey, keep doing what you're doing. I like what you're doing. And, you know, to keep doing it, just gave me that confidence that what I was doing was working, and to just keep doing it.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, Brian could probably speak on the part of it too, where it's like, you know, being told that you're our guy, you're playing every day, you don't have to worry about, you know, we're not taking you out of the lineup. Like, you know, is that one of those things that just has great effects on you mentally when you're told something like that?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean,
Absolutely.
anytime. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
No,
Please
go,
go.
go. All you.
No, I've been talking. You can touch on that.
No, it's absolutely. It's as a hitter, you know, having at bats every day and seeing pitches every day is the biggest thing. That's why pinch hitting is such a hard job. But yeah, when someone tells you that and you don't put the pressure, all that pressure on yourself each at bat, and think you're living and dying with each at bat, which, you know, fast forward, you talk about like pro ball, a lot of guys deal with that, getting worried about like being sent down if they don't produce. And that's, you see guys struggle because of that. So college, yeah, if you know you're that guy and you're going to be in there, you just get to go and play and not have that extra worry about it. It's hard enough without worrying about all that stuff. So once you pile that on, man, afraid to swing at bad pitches, so you miss the good pitches, or then you chase because you're too scared anyway. It just snowballs for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's. So I wanted to jump ahead, and we touched on this earlier. Like, can you tell the story of how you signed with the Reds as an undrafted free agent instead of being drafted? It's one of the most incredible things I've ever heard.
Yeah. Like you want the full thing? You want
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so that red shirt sophomore year, that year, like I was saying, I had a good fall. And so when scouts come to fall scrimmages and stuff, they get a roster printout, right? And they get everyone on that field, their jersey number, so they know who they're looking at and stuff like that. On that printout roster, I guess it had me listed as a sophomore, just a straight up sophomore. No red shirt, because normally it would say red shirt, you're RS-SO, red shirt sophomore. On these handouts, it just had sophomore, and that was kind of all they saw. So, I don't know if they were watching. It was like, okay, well, next year's draft, or we can look towards next year's draft, or whatever it may be. And then fast forward to the season, I had a good season. My redshirt junior year or sophomore year. And then I remember the day before the draft, or like the week of the draft, we were playing in the Mountain West tournament. I get a phone call, and it was the Rays area scout, who I had seen for 3 years already. Like he was around our fall scrimmages a lot, at our games a lot. The Rays drafted a lot of Nevada guys. QB Myers, Miles Mastrobuoni, Justin Bridgman, like they drafted a lot of Nevada guys. So he calls me and he's like, hey, we're thinking about drafting you this week in the draft. What would you say? And I told him on the phone, I said, oh man, that would be awesome, but like I'm not draft eligible. And on the phone, and he goes, yeah, no, this is your third year in Nevada, right? I was like, yeah, well, I'm a junior, but technically baseball-wise, I'm a redshirt sophomore. And he's like, well, that doesn't matter. Like, as long as you've been in Nevada for 3 years, you're draft eligible. And so that was news to me the week of the draft. This whole year I'd gone about it like I wasn't even, because I wasn't 21. I was a redshirt sophomore, so I thought you had to be at least a junior eligibility-wise in baseball to be drafted. So I didn't think I qualified until he told me that the week of the draft. And so I ended up, I told him, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for making me aware, but that's just really sudden. And I don't even have an agent. I didn't even talk to my parents about being drafted. I was planning on going to the Northwoods, just playing summer ball. That was it. So I told him, like, thank you, but no thanks. I'll wait till next year. Fast forward to the Northwoods. I'm in the Northwoods for like 2 weeks, and I get invited to Team USA, the collegiate national team. Because my coach, TJ Bruce, had connections with the college national coach at that time, Coach Horton from Oregon. They had like ties from before. So he kind of just asked him as like a favor, hey, just for exposure, can you bring him to the tryouts? Not even like to make the team, just to be at the tryouts for a week in LA. So I got invited to the tryouts, and then ended up doing well there, and impressed the staff there, and actually earned a spot on the team with the collegiate national team, and started every game for them in left field during that 1 month stretch where we played. But that 1 week at the tryouts, every team and their scouts were there looking at the guys for next year's draft. And I don't know how it came about. I don't know what was said, but at that time it was found out that I could have been drafted and that I'm draft eligible. So at that time, the draft had already happened. Now they're signing free agents out of college, or seniors, or seniors out of college, or just free agents. And I get a call from Adam Karen, who's my agent still to this day. He calls me and he goes, "Hey, we want to meet." They're based out of the Bay Area, where I'm from, in California. And I was in LA, and they said, "Hey, we want to meet up." So they fly down to LA, and we kind of meet up, and I told him, like, "Hey, yeah, like, that'd be awesome. I'd love for you guys to represent me." And boom, right into the fire. He starts getting emails, phone calls about would I be willing to sign right now? What am I looking for number wise? So in my head, I'm like, I got to decide, what do I want to go back to school? What do I want to do? And so I decided on a number, and I'm like, okay, like, if it hits this number, I'm going to sign, but there's no way it hits that number. So we're kind of going through and getting emails and phone calls. And now I'm going overseas to Taiwan. That's where we start for Team USA. So he goes, "I'll send you emails and I'll keep you in the loop of everything happening here." And so we go in Taiwan, and I'm waking up every morning at 7 or 8 a.m. to emails from him with my parents, McDonald, like, "Here's where we're at. Here's what's happening. These teams are offering him this much." So it's starting to get close to my number. And every day there's more teams coming in. And so it's kind of like overwhelming. I can't talk to anyone. I don't have phone service in Taiwan. I can text and email and FaceTime, but that's about it. And so my coach at Nevada FaceTimes me, and he knows what's going on. So, he's now I got him doing everything he can to bring me back to school, come back to school for another year, along with other teams hopping on to get me to sign. And so it just kind of turned into like a bidding war in type of, like, who had money left over from the draft is basically what they're going for. Like, after they've signed all their guys in the draft, who has leftover money? So it comes down to maybe 4 or 5 teams where it's all in the same vicinity of what I signed for. And at that point, it had surpassed what I said, would take for me to sign. And then at that point, I sat down with my agent, and we just kind of evaluated everyone's draft scenarios, everyone's minor leagues, of like who has outfielders, like developed outfielders who are going to be moving up soon, where guys stand. And so we kind of just like looked at all the possible options, and we decided that the Reds would be the best fit for me.
How big of a difference was that for you? Because, a couple years prior to that, we talked about how, you could have gone the JUCO route. The colleges weren't really that interested in you. And then just a few years later, your phone's blowing up and teams are like clamoring to get at you. Was that weird for you?
Oh, it was wild. It was wild. My freshman year of college, I barely made the team, and I had 16 at bats and 18 appearances as a pinch runner. And then come back my sophomore year, and I was redshirted. Basically told, I wasn't going to play at all on that team my sophomore year, which, that team ended up going 41-15. Like, it was insane. That team was incredible. So, like, I was glad I redshirted to save a year of eligibility, but it's always tough hearing, like, "Hey, man, you're not gonna play much. These guys are gonna play in front of you." So that was tough. And then next year, a year later, I'm having these conversations with these teams of possibly signing as a free agent and then going right to play pro ball. I go Taiwan to Japan to Cuba, and then, okay, now you go back home. We'll give you a week to go pack your things up in Nevada, and then we want you in Billings, Montana on August 4th. So, it happened quick, but it was amazing.
Yeah, and Billings, what a place that is, the best. So when you finally get back and like you go to Billings, what was your first impression of pro ball being in Billings? Were you like, "Holy shit, what did I just do?" Or were you like, "All right, this is pretty cool, let's do it"?
I think just Billings wasn't bad at all, compared to some of the other places in that league.
Billings great.
Yeah, and getting to the ballpark was beautiful. And I'm like, all right, like this is cool, like let's go. But I think the biggest thing for me was the culture of the locker room, and kind of walking in that locker room the first time after these guys get done with BP. And I mean, you know how it is. You're just hanging out after BP, and you got like, all this stuff going on in one corner, and then you got like the Latin guys over here talking and telling jokes and stuff. And for me, I had just come from Cuba, so like I had seen kind of like that stuff. But once you're in a locker room with it, in a baseball locker room with a different group of guys, then it kind of hits you of like, okay, now I'm in pro ball. Like this is the stories I hear. Now we're doing it.
And what happened in your first pro game there?
First pro game I
remember this, by the way. I actually do remember. Like I remember this whole like story playing out. Be like, who the fuck's this Friedl dude? I don't know if I was in Dayton or if I was in Daytona, but I'm like hearing the story, and then go ahead, hearing what happens next.
So I wasn't supposed to play. I remember talking to Ray Martinez, who was the manager at the time, and I was hitting BP, and I had just flown in an hour before BP. So he was like, we'll get you a day to adjust, get unpacked, settle in, you'll be in the lineup tomorrow. Well, I guess Siri hurt his thumb stealing a base the night before. Yeah. So he couldn't hit BP, so he couldn't play. So he comes up to me at the BP and goes, "Hey man, I hate to do this to you, but you think you play tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Why not?" So first at bat, I hit a home run. I hit it off the bat, and I'm like, wow. I hit 3 home runs my whole career in college. My first at bat of pro ball, I hit a home run. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Good start. Yeah, good start. Second at bat, I follow 2. I get hit in the back foot with a curveball. So whatever. Third at bat, come up, home run. Now I'm like, what's happening? I don't think I've ever had a multi-home run game in my life, let alone my first game in pro ball. And then my last at bat, I laid down a bunt single, go back to my roots, what I know I'm good at. And I laid on a drag bunt single. And I think I ended up scoring a winning run in the 9th or maybe the 8th or something like that. We ended up winning like 4-3. But yeah, that was the debut. 3 for 3 with a hit by pitch, 2 bombs, and a bunt single.
It's kind of tough though, because you can't really do any better than that. Everyone's gonna have really high expectations for you.
Set the came in really hot with the expectations there, and kind of set those. I think I was there for maybe a month or whenever the season ended, and I hit one more home run the rest of the time I was there. 2 in the first game, and then just nothing else after that.
You were just totally not thinking, probably dead tired from running around, flying in. You're just like, yeah, whatever, whack.
Whatever happens. No expectations here, and then it's the best game.
That's great. I want to backpedal just a little bit, and then I'll let Jay get back in here. How cool was it playing for the U.S. national team, and like what did that kind of mean to you and do for you?
Oh, it was incredible. Like, it was funny because I had just watched pretty much all these guys that I'm playing with with this USA team. I had just watched them a month prior when I was in the Northwoods in St. Cloud, Minnesota, watching the College World Series, watching this whole team that I'm now playing with on the collegiate national team. You guys from Florida, Vanderbilt, all these big SEC schools, and I'm from Nevada, and I'm here mixed with this group and kind of seeing like the talent. We don't play SEC schools, ACC schools. We don't play any big conference schools. So kind of like seeing that talent level of like that mixed group, and then getting to face them at the trial, because it was all basically inter squad scrimmages. So getting to face them at the trials and stuff like that. it was really cool, and it only elevated my game more playing with those guys and that competition and kind of seeing like how these guys play, and like then we go back to confidence, right? Of I could play with them. Like I'm just as good as these guys are. So like it was just another confidence level where it's like you kind of I was just watching these guys on TV in the College World Series, the best of the best in college baseball, and now I'm sharing a field with them, playing with them, competing with them. So that was an awesome experience.
Love that. So, to kind of take it forward a little bit, you're going through the minor leagues, and you played a little bit for the Reds last year, but talking about this year, like the Reds have kind of had you on the option game a lot. I think was it 4 or 5 times already up and down?
Yeah, four times.
I mean, like, how do you take that? Do you take that like all in stride? Like, what's your mindset when you might be trying to get into a groove, and then maybe things don't go your way, and you get sent back down again? How do you play through all of that?
Yeah, I think especially for my first time kind of going through it, um, it was tough the first couple times because I had a good spring training, and so the first time I got called up was about 2 weeks into the season, 2 or 3 weeks into the season. So I come up, and it was only for like 4 or 5 days, I remember, and then it was kind of like right back down to Louisville. But the second time when I came up was May 1st, and I was up May 1st to like almost the whole month of May, I want to say, and I was playing every day. I got every opportunity. I just wasn't playing my best baseball, and I knew that. And I was pressing really hard, and I was trying to force things to happen, and um, trying to make things happen for this team instead of just being myself and going out there and playing. But I mean, I was playing every day. I think I got like 90 something at bats when I was up here in that month. Like I got every chance to play, and I knew I wasn't playing like myself. So when I got optioned down, I wasn't mad. I wasn't upset. I was more upset at myself for not being myself and not playing like myself and pressing. Um, so when I got optioned down, that was kind of, I took that as another lesson. Every time this year, it's been crazy going up and down, but every time you go up and down, there's a lesson to be learned. Whether it's performance based or whether it's, hey, I was only going to come up here for someone got injured, right? And then as soon as that person got activated, I was going to go back down. Like there's a lesson every single time. And then after the trade deadline this year, we traded some guys away, Naquin, Pham. And so I saw kind of some outfield spots opening up. And so I've been playing well in Louisville and just, hoping for that next opportunity and just waiting. And so when I got called back up August 16th, I really wanted to make sure that this time around, I just played like myself. I didn't put any pressure on myself to perform. I didn't force myself to be someone I wasn't. However I play, whatever I do, whatever I was doing in Louisville, especially at that time in Louisville, I've been doing well. I think I was down there for almost 2 months after I got optioned down that last time. And, I kind of figured some things out in my swing, made some swing adjustments, and just told myself, this time up, kind of like what Brian was talking about earlier about that confidence level of once you're getting kind of scarce at bats or you're putting pressure on at bats, and it's like, okay, well, I don't want to swing at a bad pitch. You get a fastball down the middle, and it's like, why did I just take that? Like you're not aggressive. You're not ready to hit because you don't want to make a mistake. And this game's already hard enough. So if you're telling yourself, don't make a mistake, or hey, wait for your pitch or be patient, you're already making it harder on yourself on a game that's already hard. And so, this time around, I just wanted to be aggressive, play how I was playing, take my same approach, how I was playing the Louisville up here. It's the same game, same people. Everyone's the same. So, yeah, I think, that lesson kind of that I learned that last time going down to Louisville has helped me right now into where I'm at in terms of like, whether I go 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, that's not going to affect me tomorrow. I'm not going to carry that weight on my shoulder, and I'm not going to bring this into tomorrow and be like, oh man, I didn't get a hit yesterday, so I really got to get 2 hits today. I got to get 3 hits today and show them, I can stay here. Like, no, because I wasn't doing that in AAA. So why would I do that here? You just got to take the same mentality. So that's really helped me a lot this time around.
What was that swing adjustment?
Going back to kind of like what I was saying. So how I swung, that swing adjustment I made in college, in between my sophomore and junior, I opened up my stance with that little leg kick. But what that does is it frees me up to kind of like dance with the pitcher and my timing. And so before, when I was kind of like no stride and short and compact and simple, my timing was really short, and I had a short window to kind of get to my point. But what was going on last year it was incredible, right? And it worked, and it was amazing, and I was in sync. But one thing I kind of noticed this year, if my timing was off in the slightest, or if I wasn't in my legs, then my body would be searching for somewhere else to find energy to go into the ball. So I started lifting up out of my legs and coming up out of my swing. When I started in my legs, then I'd come up out of my swing, out of my legs, and my barrel drops. And now my body's this way, trying to hit the ball. And I was popping up a lot, fouling balls off to the left side a lot. So when I went back down to Louisville, I just opened up, went back to my stance how it was, in college, my first 2 or 3 years of pro ball. And so now I'm more upright. And when I swing, I'm going up to down now. So I'm landing in my legs, staying in my legs in my swing. So I'm staying through the ball. And I think that mostly for me, it's just loosening up, being free and easy, and letting my body work how it's supposed to.
When we talk about those times during, the season where you're trying to press and things aren't going your way, like how much pride do you take in your defense ability? I was watching in St. Louis the other night. You were flying around, making diving catches. Like, do you know that at the end of the day, regardless of what you do at the plate, you always have Gold Glove caliber defense in the outfield to give?
100%. And that's something that I was taught. You remember Braggy?
How could I forget Braggy? Braggy.
Yeah. what a gem. That's what I was taught from him. And that's something that he always prided himself on, his hustle, his base running, his defense, because that's something every single day that you can control. You can't control whether you go out there and go 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, but you can control your hustle after a ball in the gap, cutting off a ball in the gap, getting into the relay, throwing the guy to home, making a diving play in the outfield, backing up the right base, on the base path, taking that extra 90 feet, getting the ball in dirt read, stealing an extra base. Like, that's something, like what I was saying earlier with my speed, right? That's an advantage that I have, that I've learned to use in my game that not everyone has. I don't have Aaron Judge size to hit home runs whenever I want, but I have speed that I can help impact the game by taking an extra bag, getting a ball in dirt read, putting in that extra hustle to help win a game. And so if my bat's not there, I know I have my defense and my base running.
One thing I always liked about you is you're like that grinder, that word's so overused, but grinder, just that scrappy like gamer. And I always loved that about you. And Braggy, Darren Bragg, JA, he played in big leagues for a long time. One of the top one, I think he was like 30 in the 30s, top 100 catches of all time. I think he was playing in Boston at the time. But Braggy is one of a fucking kind, just an absolute gem. But man, he'll get you fired up to play some defense and run the bases. Like,
oh yeah,
he fucking loves it, and it's just, he's great. So that's hilarious. I love it. But you're right. It's I kind of dealt with a little bit of that like earlier this year. For me, I messed up my quad in the beginning of this year, and it bothered me for like 3 months. And I really couldn't run 100%, but they just wanted me to hit. They didn't really care how I was playing in the field. But it put so much more pressure on me to hit, because I felt like I couldn't play defense how I was used to playing it. So yeah, when you can contribute that speed, whether it's defense or whether it's dropping a bunt down and getting on base and stealing a bag or just taking that extra base. Like that makes a huge difference in your own confidence for playing the entire game because no matter how good you are, it's the cliche, but like you suck 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
If you're really
and you're a
good
Hall
in the
you're a Hall
major
of
leagues.
Famer if you only suck 7 out of 10 times. You're in the Hall of Fame.
So like if you're putting all your stock into just that, man, you get like that's tough life right there for sure.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to put on your bat. Like you said, in a game of failure. That's hard to do.
I'm glad to see you kind of coming in your own here and playing well. It's been fun following and your little power surge going on. I know you had the 2-homer game, right? I saw that in there.
Yeah. I
And,
appreciate that, man.
But we'll get you. Jay is going to get you with the rapid fire questions. Then we'll let you get out of here and enjoy your off day.
So I saw that you grew up right outside of Pittsburgh. What are your favorite parts of like growing up in that area? And then how cool is it getting to go back and play at PNC all those times in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's so I was born there, and then I actually moved to California when I was 5, like just with my immediate family. But we'd go back there every Christmas break or summer vacation. And I always loved going back there because it was always slower than what I was used to. Like life on the East Coast is, Brian, you know about that. Just a little bit. It's relaxed. No one's in a rush, and no one's trying to get from A to B super quick. And I always love that about Pittsburgh. It's always kind of like laid back atmosphere, and that's how my family in Pittsburgh is. And then getting to go back there and play. Last year, I got caught up the last 2 weeks of the season, and just so happened the last 3 games of the season last year were in Pittsburgh. So I got to see all my family came out to those games and got to see me play at the major league level in Pittsburgh. And then incredibly enough, this year, same thing. I think after next week, we'll have played in Pittsburgh 4 times, and I have been at all 4. Like as up and down as I've been this year, every time that we played in Pittsburgh, I've been up with the big league team. And every time we go back, like when I first got called back up on August 16th, we played 2 games at home against the Phillies, and then we went on the road. I had no clue where we were going on the road because I hadn't even planned out that far in advance yet. One of my buddies on the team told me, like, "Oh, you excited to go back to Pittsburgh and see your family?" I was like, "What?" "Yeah, we're leaving for Pittsburgh tomorrow." And so I'm like, and we had an off day in Pittsburgh too. So my dad and my sister had drove from Cincy to Pittsburgh, or from Pittsburgh to Cincy to watch me play when I just got called back up. And Dress and Sen were out here as well, like at that time. So after that day game, we had an off day the next day, and I went and talked to David Bell, our manager, just to see if I could go up and drive to Pittsburgh with my family. And he loved it. He was all for it. Like, he's big with family and family time and stuff. It's amazing. But just having that opportunity to have an off day during the season, get to go to Pittsburgh and barbecue at my sister's house and have all my family come over and just hang out in the backyard all day. Like, you don't get moments like that during the season. That's very rare. And so the fact that I was able to get that in Pittsburgh with my family and get to spend time with them was incredible.
There's got to be some rhyme or reason there, because in 19 we did the same thing and ended in Pittsburgh. So Delaney was with me. My wife was with me, and DB let me drive from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh so I could just drive back home
and then head home
to
from
Philly afterwards. And guess what? We got about 2 hours outside Cincinnati in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, and I got a flat tire, and it was like 6:45 p.m. on like a random weekday. And it took me, I thought we were just gonna be stuck. It took me forever to find some like random Walmart. First time I ever seen it. Walmart had a like total like automotive like garage. They changed my tire. and I made
That's
it to
lucky.
Pittsburgh that night. So you're welcome for figuring out how to get there and not blowing that for you a couple years later.
Yeah, because that one instance could have ruined the whole thing.
DP would have been like, no chance. I remember that. O'Grady
I've been
down
that road. Nope, not happening again.
Love that.
That's great.
Pittsburgh's the greatest city on the planet. So anytime I see somebody from that part of the country, it's, have to ask about that. It's the best.
God,
So
I love it.
what's your relationship with your cousin, John Calipari, like?
It's good. It's grown a lot over the last about 2 years. We've always had a relationship with him. Even when he was at Memphis, I remember being like 7 or 8 years old, and they were in the Final Four in San Francisco, and that's when we were living in Northern California at the time. And me and my dad drove out to the team hotel in San Francisco, met up with him. His family was there. We had breakfast and stuff, and went to the game that night. But anytime he played on the West Coast, he would always be in touch with my dad. We would always go watch him play. So I've always known him coming up, but never been in direct contact, me and him texting and talking. Last year when I was playing in Louisville, he came out to a couple games. There were a couple of times during the summer when he had some downtime, and he texted me. And actually, let me rewind. Sorry, I skipped a whole part. 2019, after me and my wife got married, he came out. That was the first time they played, because me and my wife live in Las Vegas now. So that was the first time they played in that CBS Classic, or it's a big classic that they have at T-Mobile Arena, and it's always around like December, and it's like always like Kentucky, Ohio State, Michigan, and North Carolina. It's like that. It's like a steady rotation, like 4 good basketball powerhouses. And my dad, that was the first time when my dad was like, "Hey, text John. Here's John's number. Link up with him." And so I text him, and I was all nervous. This is my first time talking to Calipari. I'm like, what do I say? Like, hey, let's meet up for dinner. Like, I don't want to be too pushy. I know he's got a tight schedule. And so I text him and just to link up at any time he had. And he responded within like a minute. I'm like, hey, we're having dinner tonight with the family. You and Dress, come on down. So we met him down at the hotel, at this restaurant, and kind of hung out and had dinner for hours. I mean, we were there for a while, just hanging out and talking stories and growing up, and him growing up with my dad, and playing basketball with my dad growing up. And it was cool to hear like stories from him, because I've heard stories from my dad and my uncle growing up with Calipari and Sean Miller and those guys, but hearing it from Calipari's perspective, is a whole different thing. So that was the first instance where I didn't need my dad to hang out with Calipari. It was just, no, I'll text him on my own and we'll hang out and do whatever. And so last year when I was playing in Louisville, he texted me and said he's going to come to some games. And so I would just kind of hit him up throughout the season. Hey, let me know when you're coming. So he came out a couple of times. And then last year when I got called up, my dad flew out, obviously for like a week when I was called up. And so Calipari came up with his son, Brad, to a couple games up here in Cincy, watched me play with my dad. And then this past year again, CBS Classic in Vegas. We went back there and watch the team practice, go to dinner with him and his family and stuff. So yeah, I mean, over the past couple of years, we've really, like, we text now. Something happens, he watches like a highlight, like that catch the other night in St. Louis. He'll send me a video watching SportsCenter, and just be like, crazy watching you on SportsCenter. And so yeah, we got a good relationship.
That's incredible. So are you a diehard Kentucky basketball fan now?
Yeah. I have been since Derrick Rose. I mean, since even when he was at Memphis with Derrick Rose, then he hopped over to Kentucky with John Wall. I mean, I used to wear those when Kentucky had the blue shorts with the checkers down the side. I think that was 11 or 12. Maybe that was the year they won the Natty. But they had the checkers on the side. They had that John Wall look. And I used to wear those to school in California all the time. I thought I was so cool wearing the Kentucky basketball shorts. to school, and I wear like a blue Kentucky sweatshirt with my Kentucky basketball shorts, and yeah, I always rep them.
That's the best. Yeah, I love that. What's your favorite memory or story of playing with Joey Votto?
It's tough, because just listening to the guy talk about hitting is incredible. And I think last year there was a game where I wasn't playing and he was DHing, and we were in the batting cages underneath during the game. And just listening to him talk details of hitting, the tiniest details of how he knows when something's not right in his swing. And Brian, you can touch on this too, because I know you know just as well as anyone else. He knows his swing and his body so well that he's able to tell after an at bat of the tiniest detail that didn't feel right and correct it before his next at bat. He'll know exactly what his hands aren't working right. He's not syncing. His hands aren't synced up with his body, his timings, whatever it is. He's able to pinpoint that. Not after the game, watching film, watching his at bats like the rest of us. No, he pinpoints that during the game and corrects it before his next at bat. I think that's probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen in person. And that was when I first got called up last year. So like not even a week of being called up, but like watching that happen in person in real time was incredible. Just like, that's why he's so good. And that's why he's always been so good, is because he knows his body and his swing so well that it doesn't take him a game to correct what he feels. It's at bat to at bat, probably even pitch to pitch. I wouldn't even doubt if it's pitch to pitch, but he's so in tune with his swing and his body that he knows what's wrong, what's different that day.
Joey's a different animal when it comes to that stuff, man. He's a smart dude and
smart guy.
His attention to detail is second to none, for sure.
Also, one of the best chess players I've ever seen in my life.
Last week we had Morgan Gregory on here as our guest, and we asked Morgan about playing chess with Joey Votto. So yeah.
Did he play him in chess?
They used to when Morgan was there. That was the thing, and now he says that they play online or whatever. But Joey's only into the fast games, so he just murders Morgan in like 3 minutes now instead of Morgan. The only chance Morgan has is if he takes a half hour to like make Joey bored. So
I watched him play Keno. I think it was. It was a while ago, but Keno just thought he was the best. He thought he was the best at chess, and I think at Keno, I don't know when I came into the game or the match, whatever. I don't know how many moves they were in, but all I remember is walking in and Joey's like, "You're already done. I already know you're already toast." 3 moves later, he's like, "Yep, that's it." And like I don't even know what happened. I don't know chess, but I heard him tell Keno 3 moves ahead that you're already done, and then that's it. That was it. So I think this offseason I'm gonna try and learn chess.
There you go.
Not to play him, just so I know what he's doing and how good. Because I can't even process how good he actually is, because I don't even know what's happening.
I have one last one for you. So, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. I think it would have to be back when I was in college, and it was the year I redshirted. We brought in this mental skills coach, like this kind of like mental skills coaching group, and they always talked about how hard the game is and the mental aspect of the game, which is really been coming to light over the past couple of years. Luckily, I learned about that in college. Because had I not known about how tough the mental aspect of the game is and how to stay on top of that, pro ball would have been a lot tougher, to be honest. But one of the biggest things that these guys always talked about was, now I remember to this day, and I always remember, you have every right to be on the same field as the person next to you or whoever you're playing against. Doesn't matter what their accolades are. Doesn't matter what their reputation is. Doesn't matter what their title is. You know, they're just another man, just like you. They're no better than you. They're no greater than you. You don't have any reason to feel less than. You're the same person. So once I kind of took that and put that into my own, you know, kind of took away any intimidation or any like, oh, especially in college, right? Like in college, I had no reputation. I just redshirted. And you got All-Americans. There's All-American pitcher. Oh, Friday night starter. Like, just another guy. He's another guy in college, just like me. You know, we're both trying to get to the same level. We're both trying to get to the same place. And that kind of helped me build my confidence up. Instead of starting in a 10-foot hole of like, oh, well, I'm a red shirt and this guy is an All-American, so I'm already in a hole. Like, no, we're the same guy. We're the same exact person. You might have had a better year than I did last year, no doubt about that. But, you know, we're the same person. So that kind of helped me balance my mentality in terms of, you know, I'm a good player. I deserve to be here. I know what I'm capable of. You know, I've earned this. Everything I've done, I've earned. And yeah, just kind of build off of that. And then, you know, once you start seeing success, and that's the other, I think the other big piece of advice that I would say and add on top of that is, and I don't remember who told me this, might have been in a book, but in this game, to never get, and Brian, you can probably attest to this, never get too high on your highs and too low on your lows. Stay level-headed, level keel, and try and keep as straight as a line as you can. Because if you get too high on your highs, this game will humble you real quick. You know, the game of baseball, even the game of life, we don't have to make it baseball. The game of life, baseball doesn't owe you anything. You're not owed anything in life. And it'll humble you real quick. If you get too high on your highs and you start feeling like you're untouchable, you know, there's a lot of things that can humble you. So I think that's the other piece of advice I would say that I got at a young age that helped me a lot, especially in times of trouble. Like when you're slumping in this game, it feels like the days go by real slow. But you know, if you try and keep a level head, keep a good balance in there, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So,
well, TJ,
that's what I would
say.
So
much. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. It's been great catching up with you and great having you on here and hearing your story and all that stuff, man. Just thank you so much. We really appreciate
I appreciate it.
On your
Thank
day
you guys
off, man.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it, man.